Hello, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome to Beyond the Art in our series, The Stories That Carry Us. I'm your host, Craig Beaumont Flynn, a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and the Delaware Tribe of Indians. In each episode, we will discuss with various Native American artists, influencers, art leaders, and everyone in between their experiences, the communities they serve, and the translation and interpretation of the Native American art world today. Today we have Isaiah Stewart, Oglala, Lakota, and Mohawk tribal citizen. Welcome to Beyond the Art.
Hey there, Craig. How you doing? Blessed to be here.
Good. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you on the show. Well, tell us a little about you and your story.
It's Oglala, but anyhow, that don't matter. My name's Isaiah. My Lakota name is Tashunke Wamniumne Luta from Oglala, Lakota, located in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. My mother's side is split right down the middle. Her father's from Six Nations, upstate New York, Canada area. Yeah, that's a little bit of background where I come from. Most of my artwork is Lakota based. I do dabble in a little bit of Six Nations stuff, but yeah, most of it is as you can tell.
So it's your driving force.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, just the way I was raised.
So a lot of your inspiration comes from your mother's side. How do you incorporate that into your artwork?
From my father's side.
Your father's side. Okay. So
a lot of the plains, Western, ledger art is a lot of my. So I do fine art, painting, and then on the other end I do design work. This is some of my design work. This is a drum from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and then all over too. But most of the boys, they sing Lakota songs. So shout out to Showtime. This is one of the designs I did for them.
Fantastic. So what inspired you to become an artist?
So my father was a full-time artist growing up. First, he just kind of worked. He did architecture, and then he did illustration. He worked for this place that did illustration, hand-drawn illustration for ads. And so this was in the 90s. It was one of the last ad or the agency that used illustrations for ads. So I remember him up all night at the light table just sketching stuff, and he would pull aside my brother's friends, and he would draw them and talk to them and then just put the clothes on them. that was how he started.
Yeah. So he gave you inspiration to become an artist?
Yeah.
By looking over his shoulder?
Yeah. So just by observing him, I built my studio in my basement, and his studio was in our basement. And I just remember always going down there, seeing what he was up to, checking him out. He also, later on in his life, he went to fine art from illustration. So he built his foundation there, learn how to put together pictures and iconography, and then throw it in and make paintings out of it. And so that's what he did, was fine art later. And I got to watch that process, coming home day after day after day, looking at him over there painting. You know, I was early 20s then, so I was coming in late and he was sitting there painting. And so one day I just said, "Hey, can you show me how to paint?" Because I could draw, but I had no idea about paint.
So he showed you the ways.
Yeah, he did. And he was just real, he was a real inspiration. Like I always hear him in the back of my mind. He always believed that you could do anything. He always believed in himself and his children. And so he passed in 2009, but he was a big, important factor in my life.
A large influence, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So do you think you take some of his inspiration of what he did and incorporate it into your artwork?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if it wasn't for him paving the way, like he was really into comic books, and so was my brother. And it was the '90s, man. Like Spawn was popping off, Todd McFarlane, Spider-Man, all X-Men. And then we were living just outside of Chicago, Illinois, in Aurora, and he was working an architecture job there. But he used to take us by the library, and there was a guy that worked for Marvel that used to set up in the library. He was just a student. It was an Asian fella, and he was drawing the Warlock comic books. So he had all the big sheets, and my dad would be like, come on, my buddy's going to be here. We got to go. And we would just sit there and watch him. And he was like, you guys could do this. You guys could do this. Like, it inspired my dad. He actually did make my parents actually met in the LDS church, and he did make like a biblical comic book, I'd say in his mid-30s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In his mid-30s, yeah.
How was that received?
Well, I think it was like, I just remember the quality that was put into it. Like everything, like the line quality, the line variation was so important to me. And I use it in my ledgers today. Like I use a certain type of brush that allows me, it's like a paint brush, like a bamboo brush, to be able to change the line variation. And I also use it in my illustrations on the computer as well. But I always knew the ink, because he would draw them and then he would ink them all out, and then I believe they would color them in the when he would send them off to get printed or whatnot. But yeah, I was received by the community. I mean, he had a big show and stuff, but that was when he was doing the Mormon thing. So
gotcha. Well, I'm an ex-Mormon as well.
Oh, really?
So,
okay, Jack Mormon's in the house.
Factor.
Okay,
yeah.
As a kid, 3 hours.
A Jack Mormon, I guess you could say.
3 hours was too much for me. So, like, I was that meme of that little kid that was like this, like, so you're telling me? Yeah. I was always just like, I was never with it. And I was probably the most outspoken out of our family, being youngest. They say I got spoiled, but because I opened my mouth a lot, I always say I was a black sheep.
Yeah. I hear you, brother. I hear you. I know exactly where you're coming from.
There you go.
So what made you kind of direct yourself to doing ledger art? Was it because of your father, or that was the focus that you thought, okay, this is really my main staple, and this is where I'm really being creative, and my output and my DNA is into this?
So my dad set me up with of course, the comic book, the illustrations, the foundation for it. When I started dancing when I was about 19 years old, I really wanted to dance when I was a kid, powwow. But there was just too much going on. My mom was too busy. My dad was too busy trying to provide. I always got my brother's hand-me-downs. I wanted to grass dance, and my brother never wanted to grass dance. So I always just got his stuff, like traditional. And then pretty soon it was like I was waiting for a flood, on all his outfits. His stuff stopped getting made. So when I turned 19, I was just like, man, I really want to do this. And when I want to do something, I always jump in with 2 feet. So I just I was working this job, waiting tables, and I was living in Washington at the time. I was staying at my mom's house in Yelm, Washington, which is right next to Lacey, which is Shipwreck Beads. So I just went there and ordered a bunch of beads, and then watched Sopranos, and then just beaded a whole outfit. So when I was out there, dancing, I noticed a lot of, and then my mom would do a lot of ledger style horses, and I would just always found myself like, every time I go to museums, every time I would look through books, I was just really attracted to the ledger format, where like things weren't perfect, they were expressive, they looked a little primitive. But they could be gory. They could be, the same things that attracted me to that brutal honesty was like what attracted me to the comic books or Japanese art. And later at KU, I took a mokuhanga class, a Japanese woodblock class. So that influenced me too. Mm-hmm. And then, just looking at all the ledger art from the Battle of Little Bighorn or just like certain little stories that were told really, really got the ball rolling. Right. And I started to draw them out and kind of put my modern twist on it a little bit.
Right. So where you getting your inspiration of a vision or your process and start creating something? Or do you draw it? Do you have in your head? Do you focus and kind of pencil it in and then start proceeding with your artwork?
Right. So first of all, I have my palette from the beadwork. I really studied what type of palette goes into making beadwork. And so the certain type of yellows and greens and blues and reds and what the designs are all based around like a spiritual life to ground a warrior, an individual. So that was like the basis for my color palette. But then when I sketch, this is where studying under my father came. He was always just doing like one swoop, one line should catch where that space of where that figure is going to be. And then you just keep going. Right. So you build, like how you draw a comic book is you build the biggest shapes, then the smallest shapes, then the smallest shapes. But in ledger art or the illustration, what's on top being hit by the light is going to be a thinner line. And then what's heavy, like around the jaw or around the arm, is going to be like a thicker line. And so my understanding came into that more as I work, the more I want to kind of develop something that was more personal, that was a little bit different than everybody else that's doing it right now.
So where do you gain the vision or what you want to draw? Is it a dream? Is it something that you see organically or?
Yeah. So what I like to tell the story about like men and getting their war exploits or being in battle. Or I have one where he's like, and it's kind of personal to me because I'm really into horsemanship, and I have some friends that I was learning under kind of Western reining style, and the way they would stop and plant their seat would throw up all the dust around them, and their horse would slide. And so I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool if like these warriors were running across the battlefield and then all of a sudden somebody shot at them from like, 8 o'clock at an angle, and they had to slam on their brakes and turn and shoot. And I made a ledger about that. And it's just, I use things from a little bit of life or something I'll come across that'll kind of influence me, especially dealing with the horse. Like I always try to involve the horse. I've even made ledger art about the interweavings of native Western art, which is, I kind of want to celebrate that in my work a little more. I do in my paintings, definitely, but more in my ledger art is to, because after all the Indian wars, we were put on reservations, and then everybody was told to be a farmer and to ranch. Well, a lot of the vaqueros, especially on the West Coast, when it came up from Californios came up, they in the missions, the natives weren't allowed to be cowboys, but they ran out of heads, and so a lot of the mission, the Indians around that area were like awesome wicked on horseback. And then what happened over in the plains is a lot of everybody kind of borrowed from one another, like the tack, and like we were riding here. I'll show you right here. We were riding. This is just a modern construction right here of a war bridle, and it goes under the horse's mouth, and then you cinch this up right here. So That's just like a modern lariat rope, but it's in a like like a Lakota warrior kind of fashion, but it's put together with modern things. And so I'm just really interested in the interweaving of those cultures and the people that were able to raise children under that. There's even books made and songs in Lakota of cowboy, like celebrating a cowboy way of life. And so I've just been attracted to that all my life. My father was raised, his mother was a real bad alcoholic. Father was a bad alcoholic. And so he was raised in a lot of the time in foster care. And so I would always go visit his foster parents in Burley, Idaho, and they had a ranch. And I was just like, man, I want to do that. You know, I want to ride horses. I want to shoot guns. I want to do all that, you know.
So do you feel that some of your art is indicative of your culture and you're trying to grow into the next stage of your own cultural and heritage?
Yeah. I you know, a lot of the times, especially with my t-shirt company in that I had, it was called Bachipi State in the Powell world. And one thing I wanted to get across to the youth and to other people was that we don't have to say native, or we don't have to compete with the white man. We don't have to state that we are as good as. We need to make the things that we want to celebrate and put it out there for the people to take in. A lot of the artwork and that you'll see is going to be stuck in someone's memory. And so why don't we just celebrate all the beautiful things of our culture that can give us strength, you know, and so we won't have to be coming from a place of defense. We could be coming from a place of like offense, of celebrating and sharing with the world. So that's what I try to do. I mean, there's not a whole lot of Indian at the end of the trail stuff with me. It's always like the victorious, because the Lakota people and Cheyenne and the Blue Clouds, they were the ones that fought on the Battle of Little Bighorn, and they beat the United States like head to head. And so a lot of the times, even if I use an American flag, people will be like, you know, nowadays they'll be super offended by it, you know. But the Lakota know that it was a war trophy. And so even at our gatherings, they'll bring out, I've been in dancing in places like Sisseton, Wahpeton, South Dakota and their tribe. And they'll randomly bring out the flag they took at the Battle of Little Bighorn. They'll march it around. But they don't ever say when they're going to do it or what year they're going to do it, because they don't want the government to take it away from them.
Exactly. Yeah. And they continue to do that, unfortunately, in a lot of elements. You know, our story doesn't end just because we won a battle or a battle was 150 years ago. Our story is continuing to grow each and every day. I think a lot of people don't understand that as a culture and as a peoples, you know, just because we had first contact and we were put on reservations, our story's over. You know, our story's growing and it's continuous. And we have to tell that story on a daily basis,
right,
in a lot of different forms and ways. And I think what you do is fantastic in creating that story and letting other people know about it. So in some of the pieces that you've done, what would you say was the most rewarding to have completed? Like it was your part of your soul you put into it, I guess you could say.
Oh man, there's a piece that I always go back to. I think it was Jack Red Cloud, who is an Oglala, which is, I believe, Red Cloud's son. But he's got this hat, old timey cowboy hat, and it's kind of cocked to the side right there, and he's just got he just got kind of blank eyes, kind of checking you up and down. Well, I took that and I painted it like a real fine painterly style. And of course, all these photos are in black and white, but because I draw in black and white so much, I try to see color through the grayscale. And so I can use colors, I can just make them up, but they'll match the grayscale on the photo. And so during that time, it was like a spiritual rebirth for me at the time. And I just kept seeing these echinaceas, and I was told that they're medicine for our people. And then if you look on the other side of it, you'll see how people used echinaceas as medicine as well. But I put them growing up around his head. He kind of has this look, and these echinaceas are kind of growing up like this. And then on the bottom of him is a golden eagle tail. So the bottom of his kind of faded out, kind of in a painterly style. And then right under there is the eagle tail. So, but the shapes of everything is an hourglass.
Oh, wow.
And then so it's celebrating that connection between the spiritual, between the relatives, between here in the heavens, here in the stars. And then also the space between where you say things, where you're heard.
Right.
So a lot of that in the Lakota design is like, it's like a hill, before Sundance, we pray, we fast on top of a hill. And so a lot of those designs are hill designs. You'll see them on war bonnets, or you'll see them on leggings and stuff. And there'll be a lot of sacred sites with hill designs on it.
So was that your, like, how would I put it? Your significant piece that you accomplished, and that you're like, this is part of my soul's in this.
Oh piece. Yeah. Like without a doubt.
Yeah.
I was powwowing full time on the trail. I was dancing like every weekend. And what had happened is I was dancing, and then I remember when I first started dancing, I was grass dancing, but then I was traveling with one of my friends. His name's Chad Killscrow. He's Oglala too. And he prairie chicken danced, where he kind of mimicked the prairie chicken, and you're supposed to be downright like showing off, you're supposed to be like chest out. And I had so much fun watching him. Like I would laugh, and then it would make me feel good. And I'd be like, Chad, I want to do what you do. And he's like, say, all right, Mishunkola, we'll get you set up. Then he told me all about the dance, and the more I traveled, I learned about the dance. But from the get-go, I just wanted to bring that like fun-loving spirit where people would have a good time. Grandmas, aunties would laugh. But as time kind of pursued and moved on, I gained a little bit of success. And what had happened with me is that it wasn't fun anymore for me. I was gone all the time. I just had a daughter. I was, a lot of times they're at casinos, and I was just, gambling and just kind of losing my way a little bit.
Right.
So what had happened is I was set to be head man dancer at Gathering of Nations. I was like the youngest MC at the time, doing these big powwows like Denver March. I did some other ones, but at the time it was just like, man, I was like getting a little too big for my britches. I was like, this is, you know what I mean? This is,
you brought down a little bit.
This is, I was kind of losing my path a little bit. So I just stepped away, and then I just was like, wanted to kind of get back in touch with who what I really wanted for myself. And the first thing is horses. The horses to me, because they're a mirror of you, right? We talk about that hourglass. We talk about the mirror. I mean, horses have like a different type of medicine. They like really show you who you are, and they're really sensitive. So that sensitivity is what I needed, because I'm like, go, go, go all the time. And it still comes out. Like I chased my mare around for like an hour and a half yesterday. And sometimes that's what I do to blow off steam. I just hopped on my other sorrel, and I didn't have a saddle on. He was just out there. I had already caught him, sent him back, but I was trying to chase her, and I had a rope, and my wife, thinking, she just threw him back in the pasture, and he came running up, hopped on him and roped her. But yeah, I would say horses. And then I started to think, like, I really liked wearing hats. I really liked cowboy things. I really liked to watch old Westerns. That's all I watched, like, growing up with my father. I always had the Levi jacket and the cap gun, and I always wanted to be a cowboy as a kid. I always wanted to be a cowboy, but as I grew older, I was like, I love being Indian,
Yeah.
And so
you're on the other side.
Right. There's that song, what was that in Urban Cowboys, like the Indians want to be cowboys and the cowboys are wearing turquoise.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure. But there's the interweaving in cultures, and I've met so many folks, cowboys, other people that are in the Western industry, just by making art. And
well, it's an appreciation of the land. I think we take our focus and understand the land and our surroundings and Mother Earth. And there's a lot of, I think, cross-pollination between those cultures that are very similar in some ways and form.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Like I would say, I was like, man, a lot of these cowboys are, man, they're kind of resi. They're a lot of them are. A lot of them would be good Indians.
Yeah.
They like their Wakalapi hot. They like their coffee. I saw your Starbucks earlier. I got my scoots.
Yeah.
But they like nice things, like their leather, their tie-offs, their ropes, and all these things. I think we share, and they have old medicines just like us, just like we do. They take care of their animals, the earth, ag. Like, I'm just learning about pasture management right now, and so it's
in some of the pieces that you created. What were you surprised by some of the responses you've received?
Oh,
wow! I didn't see that, or I didn't expect that.
Yeah. Well, that piece I told you about with the tilted hat and the kind of persona he had on, he looked like real sad, but he looked like he was growing into something, and a lot of people that I find while doing this native Western art is that, man, a lot of people just really feel it in their soul too, and it resonates with them, and they're just like, man, like, it makes them feel like encouraged, that they're not the only ones, or they're not like such a small group, that, because there is a lot of us, and then there also is a lot of people that are friends with us that are neighbor to the reservation, that we interact with or help one another and stuff.
So those are some of the pieces that I see in the background. You're in your studio, correct?
Yeah. So back here, this is one of the first pieces I started doing. These are two little boys that I found from a mission photo, and that was in like a Jesuit photo. And one, had the black hat and was dressed, and he has a rifle, little Indian boy.
Right.
And the other one has a bonnet and a bow, and it's just like two boys, and they're both coming together. I'm like, man, those are two boys inside me,
Right.
Because I love. Well, I use a compound bow hunting, but I do have a short bow. But and then here, this is I'm illustrating a book. Yeah. I actually have a friend that I illustrate for. To give a shout out to him. His name is Dougie Hall. I'm not sure if you heard of him. Shout out to Dancing Dougie Hall, but he is a big personality on TikTok, YouTube.
Mm.
But man, we're a lot alike on, I guess, how we came up and stuff. And so he's got the mouthpiece to connect everybody and ground everybody. And I just try to I was already making like his vision on imagery, but now he can put it out and, we can celebrate it together. So, it connected me with these people. These are it's a family out of Washington. They own PBR Buck and Bulls. And man, really, really great family, but we're doing a children's book together. So
fantastic. When's that coming out?
As soon as I can paint fast enough. It's already written. Well, we wanted to do simple illustrations, but she wanted to have more of a raw, authentic kind of Western feel to it. And I was like, why don't we just oil paint it? She's like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, let's oil paint it. So if I see an opportunity, I'm going to try to take it, like I said, 2 feet in and go for it and try to give them more than they ask for,
So all the various art forms that you do and create, where do you think your passion really lies?
Painting.
Painting?
Yeah.
Does it wake you up in the middle of the night and first thing in the morning, you got to get to your studio and start painting?
Well, I mean, I do have success selling paintings, and I have on Instagram just for like a specific clientele, people that know me from the Powwow Trail, people that know me from college, or people in town, or it was a smaller window. Now I'm hosted by, I signed with Manitou Gallery in Santa Fe, and they really like my vision of the native Western cowboy and want to celebrate it with me. And when that happened, I was like, I can finally bring this idea. And I just think about that lone guy on the plain, bareback, with a cowboy hat, working his cattle, or just coming into town, tying one up. And, this is for those guys. And the guys doing it now, like Dougie, or people, raising buck and stock, or just raising horses. And like I'm trying to do, I'm not about, I already told you, I already had my chapter in, trying to kill my ego. I try to kill it all the time, but I want something that's going to soothe my soul, feed my soul and not my ego, with the horses. And so it's like, man, they're humbling.
Yeah.
So when I work with them, it forces me to be really kind, soft, slow. And so my artwork's for them.
Self-reflect.
What's that?
I said self-reflect.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm excited to bring it. My illustration, it was my foundation, and it's got me here to be able to get people's attention, and to see what I can do painting wise.
So do you do the art circuit? Do you do the various markets and art circuit?
No, I never. I've been accepted to Swaya twice. I've just never been able to make it down there. I'm just an old man. I like my house. I like my bed. I like my cats. I like my dogs. I like my horses. And so, like, I don't know if powwow.
You're the man that's on the range.
Right. I don't know if powwow did that to me, or because I was on the road, 8-10 hours every weekend. But and also I have to pack around these paintings, and so like it just happened by chance. I had sent a painting down to a show that runs parallel with Swaya. I'm not sure if you're familiar with oh gosh, there's another show that runs parallel. The name is just skipping my mind right now. Fahrenheit.
In New Mexico?
You know Fahrenheit Gallery?
Fahrenheit? No.
Fahrenheit Gallery is located in Santa Fe as well. And I think originally what happened is like a group of artists branched off from Swaya and decided to do their own thing. And I'm always for the underdog, so I was like, yeah, okay. I don't have to I don't have to set up this booth, and I could just send my work down there, and then I could support somebody trying to grow too. And so I did that. I sent him a couple paintings, and he bought one, and then sent a couple to auction. Of course, no one knows who the heck I am, so it was just like, yeah. I'm not sure if that was successful, but he took. So I was supposed to send 4 works down there for this last market this past year. I get there and I'm like this oil's trying to dry, and I get it all ready to send, and it's going to be like a couple grand just to get it over there overnight. Not happening, basically. I'm all bummed out. So he just texts me, and some of the other boys that were in that show text me an image. The one he bought, he showed.
All right.
Yeah, and he showed, I think another one of mine, but he showed that one. And there was an editor for, I believe, one of the Western art magazines that was staying in that hotel. And he just took a cruise through, and I guess, he really liked it. And he went and got, and she tells me this, she's like, for this guy to come get me during the market and get me out of what I was doing to come over here to look at this painting, it was just destiny in that moment for me to be able to end up there. That could have never happened. He could have just walked straight on by and went about his day. And so I just think of that as just fate,
Time. Yep. Fate and timing.
Yep. That's how I feel about it too.
So
with timing, that's how I feel about it. I was like, I'm just going to keep painting because I would do this broke or not, I'm going to be painting anyways. So it's just, when it's my time, it'll be my time. And when it's other people that are having a lot of success, I'm all hands,
Spread the wealth. So besides the illustration you're doing right now, what else are you working on?
Let's see here. I've actually got this little, right now I painted a drum for Showtime. So
no, what is Showtime exactly? You mentioned that and you gave them a shout out.
Oh yeah. So they're a drum group, based out of Pine Ridge, but a lot of guys, there's some guys here from, a lot of them are Cheyenne, a lot of them are Oglala, but, they're a drum group. To me, they're like the modern day kind of warrior. They sing our songs that talk about our exploits, or they sing new songs about dancing, but they keep the heritage alive with talking about where we come from. A lot of those old songs, old war songs, or right. It keeps the culture alive, and it makes the men, want to stand up and be proud, and the Wichaglatas in the back that back them up, the Wias that back them up, just add that little. I hear they add that little bit of beauty to extend it further on into the heavens. So this last year, they kind of designed this, and then I just vectored it out. But I was like, last year, I was like, can I do something I want to do? Put a little twist on it. And they're like, yeah. So I did I put a 6'4" Impala, and I'm a big, on different cultural scenes, I'm a big advocate on like Pinterest. I'm like scrolling through like little niche, little culture groups. So like growing up in the 90s, my brother was big into gangs and stuff. I don't I don't condone that or nothing, you know, but it was a big part of my
Right.
upbringing and my playlist, you know. So I took an old like 80s like gang photo, but I turned it into something good. Like I put this 6'4" Impala, and then I put all these Lakota guys just resting with their bows and their tomahawks, and I kind of put them in poses, you know.
Oh, cool.
I just made it funny, you know, something that people could laugh at from our generation.
Right.
And then I put the Wichagota in the back and the top in the center, you know, just looking sacred back there. But this year we kind of went more tradition with the ledger art, and I can give you a sneak peek.
Yeah.
It's right here. So let me back up.
That is one big drum. Jeez. Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So they'll be using that once it's completed?
Yeah, once this is done, they will be they'll be singing on it. You'll be able to see them on YouTube, or they host a lot of powwows and stuff. So they were last year's Gathering of Nations champions, which is like the biggest powwow. So I still have connections to the dancing and singing and stuff. So
you're still in the mix.
Right.
Maybe just outside the circle, not in the inner
Right. I can cheer from the sidelines, and you know,
exactly.
still put my stuff out there.
So what else is coming up for you, Isaiah?
So we talked about market. August. Well, let's start off in June. June, I'm I think I'm not sure if everything's signed in the paperwork, but I'll be in Fort Collins for the month of June, I believe. I'll be doing a big mural, which is funny. We're talking about this it's going to be I guess it was a trade spot for a lot of Plains tribes. And so I'm going to be making a mural celebrating that in a kind of contemporary way with the colors and how I'm going to put it together. I guess it's at an outdoor mall, but I guess there was a tree that used to be there, a big tree where a lot of tribes would meet and they would trade goods and stuff. And Lakotas were one of them, I'm told. So I'm gonna have fun putting that together, and you know, it'll be right with so many people passing and coming and going.
Right.
If I can put that in an image in someone's mind where they'll think about it, you know, it'll be fun. That'll be super fun to do. It's, I think, 40 feet long. I've done.
Wow. That's a project.
Right. What?
Do you already have a vision in your head, or were you directed of what they want to see incorporated?
I think I'm going to go down there. We're going to go smoke on it. So my dad would always say, why don't you go smoke on it? You know, he'd always say, go smoke on the matter when he wants you to think about something. Right. But yeah, I'm going to go down there with them, talk to the people. They're going to tell me basically the history and, you know, kind of some stuff they want to do. But I really want to, I'm kind of letting the idea consume my mind a little bit. So, of course, I'm going to take their input and stuff, and I'm going to do research, but I really want to just do my thing, you know. I want to take what a lot of people have to say, and I'm sure there's going to be someone there that's going to say something that's really going to impact me and
right, you
know, make me add or maybe it would be the whole foundation of something, you know. But I've done murals here in a Western store in Manhattan, Kansas, and Outpost. That was a 30-foot mural. And I've done them in the university here, Haskell. The problem with me, you can hear my chickens.
Right.
They're laying eggs right now.
They want to be fed. Oh, are they?
That's where they really sound off. So anyways, problem with me and murals is I always want to turn them into paintings. Like Diego Rivera, I want to blend and I want to put all the 3D and the motion. And then I got to remember, I'm like, oh, dude, this is only supposed to be like a 2-week thing. And this is like a 2-month thing. So
limit your creativity.
Yeah. Well, I think illustration can go a long way with making decisions, line quality, colors, color contrast, different hues. If you make all those decisions and map it out and make it simple, you can find out really successful murals, which I think sometimes can be more successful than my giant painting.
Right. So what after that? Well, it's in June.
Okay, so August.
What else you come up?
August 17th is going to be. August 17th is they're going to feature me at the Manitou Gallery, and I'm going to have a spot in their new renovated, in their newly renovated front window. So
this is the one down in Santa Fe, correct?
Yes. And that weekend of our Indian Market, I will be. I got my dogs coming in here.
No worries.
Cats. So, that'll be that's a huge opportunity for me. And so I'm just have a lot of stretchers and stuff getting ready to go and photographing. And I'm calling, some of my buddies with great faces to come put on hats and hop on a horse. So I'm going to stage some scenes. I've got some real cool ideas that won't be out of the ordinary for these paintings.
Really? That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Just want to, because I think the indigenous native perspective on how we see the West or the animals is, can be a little bit different. We see the horses as our relative. We wouldn't be here without them.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't have had something to celebrate with having that relationship with them, with the animals. So I really kind of want to put an emphasis on that.
Fantastic.
So that's August.
Well, is there anything else that
August 17th?
That's August?
August 17th, Thursday at Manitou Gallery.
All right. We might actually be in Santa Fe at that point in time. Haven't really booked it, but it's a possibility. So I'll have to come by.
Oh yeah, you should. Have you been to Santa Fe before?
No, I have not.
Oh my goodness!
No.
Oh, you talk about the cross mix of cultures. You have.
I know.
Oh, just the old Spain. So all the roads are brick downtown by the square. The food is amazing. The chilies, the green chili, just all the food down there in the plaza, and then it's just galleries.
That's right, yeah.
Art, and then all the buildings are built. They have to look like a pueblo. Even Target, has logs coming out the top of it.
Even Target.
Right.
There you go. That says it all.
But all year round, the Dene, the Pueblo, all of them with their silver work, they always are selling down on, just high quality silversmithing, high quality art down there on the plaza with their blankets, just like back in the old days.
Yeah, it's been on my to-do list quite some times, and actually before, the pandemic hit, but hopefully this year we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Plan early because, or hopefully someone because the Airbnb, you might have to commute from Albuquerque. Who knows?
Or just sleep in my car.
Oh yeah.
Sleep under the stars. Do it the old way. Why not?
Traditional ways. Go set up a blanket at IAIA.
Yeah. Hey, one with nature. Why not? Might get some attention.
Go stay at a Institute of American Indian Arts. Go stay in one of their dorms.
There you go. Well, my friend, it has been a great pleasure. Is there anything else you want to add or showcase or tell our listeners, our viewers?
I just want to say that do what you love. You know, our time is limited here, and do it in a loving manner, and you're gonna be taken care of, because you're gonna have that belief, and other people are gonna support it, and other people are gonna support you. And so, if you have an idea that's just you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about, like, do it and fail a lot.
Mm-hmm. You learn,
because that's the only way you're going to grow and get better. And so, take those L's with pride.
Yep. True to that. I think it's the Osage. I'm sorry if I'm incorrect, but a beaver is just like, do it. Why does a beaver do what he does? Because he just does it because he has to and he should.
Right.
He doesn't sit around and think about it and meditate. He just starts building and starts going forward. He lives each day.
Right.
So just do it. Truly believe that.
Exactly. Yep. The work.
Well, Isaiah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. The work builds the purpose, you know. Exactly. Doing the actual thing gives you a purpose.
Absolutely. I think that's part of our culture as well,
mm-hmm.
that we all have a purpose and we want to do. So, well, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the show, and I appreciate your time, and the best of luck with you, and hopefully I'll see you in August.
All right, great. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Tell your producer.
Take care, Isaiah. Absolutely.